Thank you guys so incredibly much for joining us on another episode of Starseed Activations. Perfect. Welcome. Okay, so today we are going to start with some interesting information. So, tomorrow is World Water Day. And so many people will be doing fasting. So, we are going to be going live tomorrow in recognition of World Water Day. And so, during that, we are going to do a worldwide water meditation. So anybody looking to join in on that, it will be tomorrow at 7 p.m., the normal time. So wonderful. Thank you guys so incredibly much for joining us. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Okay, so we're going to start with the first question. Do we need to purchase cryptocurrency, and is the money system dissolving? Now, as with multiple systems on this planet, we do know that the old system must break down in order to allow for a new system to form. So, what does that mean? If the money system didn't have any issues, any problems, if everyone was happy and comfortable with the money system would continue right along to be fully manifest into the physical reality. But because we're starting to see change, we're starting to notice that things are being pulled away or dissolving or disappearing, and then new stuff is coming, and then there's all this chaos surrounding this one topic alone. So we have to recognize that when something starts a breakdown process, that means that there's a low frequency around it. So what the star people are saying right now is look at the emotion to money. When enough of the human collective consciousness has a negative perception of money, it started this process of death, like the death cycle or the lowering of the frequency of money. And so, what this does is it causes chaos in the money energetic grid structure, which then in turn allows the money to shift. And so the way it shifts is completely dependent on the human consciousness grid. So, what does that look like? Well, what do you guys see money as? Are we ready, willing, and able to come in, step into a system where we're sharing and caring with one another? Now, I can also tell you from personal experience, there's certain solar shifts that every single one of us goes through, and we're called to release money. So we get called to donate. And if and when we donate during those things, then there's a give back that comes our way. Now, we recognize this as the normal wheel of karma, but I'm telling you, during certain zodiac shifts or solar alignments, there are specific times when if you donate, if you give stuff away, it will come right back to you. And this happens because it's a process of releasing and receiving. So the second we're aware of what solar cycles that we're actually going through, it makes it easier to work with this process. So let's say you give away a car. I've given away cars before. And then right when I needed a car, I had a car. I've always had a car. So it's kind of works like that. You cannot hold any fear to giving stuff away. And when we really, as humanity as a whole, when we are more concerned with the whole than the single organism, the entire world shifts and changes. Now, what that looks like is if you have food in your house, and most of us do this automatically. So if we have an abundance of food and there's like a hurricane or something happens and your neighbor doesn't have food, or maybe five of your neighbors don't have food, well, you have an overabundance. So of course you're going to go and you're going to feed these people because it's the moral thing to do and because we love each other. And so that's what's going to change the world. Not saying that we're going to run out of food, but I'm just saying by us sharing and caring with each other, it changes the frequency around the abundance coding that we all experience. So for that level of consciousness, you really have to go inside and you have to know and believe anytime that I've ever not had money, all of my needs were met. And this kept happening over and over and over again until I started saying it. Oh, all of my needs are being met. I said it every day. I said it 100 times a day at one point. And then when I woke up in the morning, I believed it. And the more and more you believe in that, then you know that in the now moment, bam, anything that you need is going to come to you. And it comes to you in all sorts of different ways. And this is the reason why. Now, during that shift that I went through, this is why many people, we go through these times where the universe removes everything and then it gives back to us. It's another cycle ending and a new cycle starting. This is what that is. So when we go through that, it teaches us faith. Faith that everything we need in the now moment will show up for us. The only thing that you have to do is be loving, caring, kind. And so I wasn't afraid to give my last five to the homeless man. I knew he needed it more than me, and I knew I would find a way to get another one. right? And so when we start to step into that, that's how we unlock instantaneous manifestation. That's a real thing. I have experienced it multiple times. I've seen things. So I know it's real. Now, when you guys know and believe, you got to go through, it's like an initiation, right? Of having nothing. When you go through that process, then all of a sudden it changes your belief systems. And now you know it's real. When you know it's real, then you know everything that you will ever need will always come to you. So there really isn't a need to hold anything. There isn't a need. If someone needs a pen, give them the pen, right? And then the star people have been saying, this is the process of manifesting the replicators. So when you have a replicator, let's say everyone had a replicator in their room. Are you going to hold on to the crystal? No. If you need it, here you go. I'll just replicate another one. It's not a big deal. That attitude, it's not even an attitude. He's saying that frequency, to be very cautious with my words, that frequency of always allowing the abundance to come is exactly what allows humanity to step in and manifest the replicators. However, some individuals on the planet will be manifesting instantaneously and they won't need the replicators. So there's two different timelines that we're all looking at. Each and every one of us, we shift into whatever parallel realities that we wish or manifest to experience through our magnetics. So what this looks like is we have the spiritual group of people on the planet who are going to start to instantaneously manifest, not utilizing any technology. And then we have the group of people who are going to manifest the technology. Either path that you select, it's okay. It doesn't really matter. Some people might be trying to select the spiritual where they don't need the technology. They may fall back and then they may rely on the technology. There's so many extraterrestrials in the planetary systems, that they're utilizing both the spiritual and the technology. And so, but that's how it teaches us, because we go through these stages of, okay, we have the replicator. So now can you dive into the meditation? Can you believe that you're going to have it? Now, I've also had money show up. So I used to keep money in the visor above my, in the car. Right. So I would get in the driver's seat and there was always money in there. And then I've had times where I knew for a solid fact that I used all that money. And I was like, if there is a God, there will be money in that visor. And bam, there was money in the visor. So we have the ability to instantaneously manifest. It's already here. We just have to be holding a very high frequency of love, joy, and bliss. And we have to share and care with each other. So when we do that, it actually unlocks for more abundance to come in. It's very simple. And I know when you're physically focused and you're working a 9 to 5 and you're making the set amount and you're paying the bills, it can be very difficult to have that faith. However, I'm telling you, it's real. Focus on it. No one's saying to give away your whole paycheck, but if there's someone that needs $5, give it to them. If you're ordering something, give them a 20, right? Don't be cheap, because it will always come back to you, and send it because your heart wants to send it. Don't send it because you want to receive something. So it's very, and not only that, but when the money system breaks down, I know that there's a lot of chaos around that topic, but when the money system breaks down, it's going to allow something new to be birthed. And so what's new that can be birthed? It can either be the high technology. We can already see the high technology on TikTok. And so you have a good look at TikTok and just research technology. And you'll see all the people, they're putting free energy devices right online. So you can go, you can watch their video, and then you could start to play around with it, how to make it. Now, we take the concept of a windmill. And so a windmill, it has the fans and it spins around in a circle. Well, what if you had two and the fans interlocked with magnets, making it a double rotating windmill? Now, all of a sudden, you don't need the wind. You could take this spinning thing, you could put it in some type of metal cage so it's very safe, and you could put it under the ground. Now, this thing could be running with an alternator and it could be recharging your battery systems. Very simple concept, right? Our cars, the back tire can be linked to a pulley and a belt, and it could be recharging batteries. So anyone who's got like a Tesla, right? Why didn't they do that where they put a battery and stuff? Because they're charging for electricity. What if we were able to make our own? And then not only that, but there's also 0 point technologies. The 0 point technologies are absolutely wonderful because it tunes into your heart chakra. Your 0 point is in the heart chakra. You actually have particles in there that go above time and space. So when we start to grasp the energy of time and space, it actually gives us unlimited free energy for the entire planet. Now, just imagine that, because this is also what the pyramids were designed to do. Just like Tesla, they were created to drag energy from the 0 point and project it up into the atmosphere, allowing us to have a little device in our home that received that energy that it was sending. And then all of a sudden, we could power our entire home. So when we don't have money, when there's no money system, devices like this are going to come out. The only way the money system is going to change is if we, the people, call for the change. So, and we also see a lot of chaos also happening in the planet right now. That's okay too, because anytime we see any sort of chaos, we know that it's releasing density and it's allowing something new to come in. So even when we take a look at, any drama, any chaos that's going in the news or TikTok or wherever it may be, people tell me stuff. So I do become aware of some things. And so it was so funny. They showed me a TikTok of France or somewhere where they're dumping poop all in the government buildings and, all of that stuff. But it's allowing for new to be birthed, because what's going to happen now, all of a sudden, we don't know. Maybe France will have new people step into the parliament and all of these government offices, right? So it's allowing new to come. We can never be scared of this. So the process of being a light worker and a starseed on this planet, we are always guided. The star people are saying we guide you to hold a love-based emotion throughout any and all chaos and trauma and tragedy, no matter how hard it may seem. That does not mean that we suppress our emotions. When we feel pain, when we want to cry, release it, let it out. It's okay. But that does mean when we see the scary stuff on the TV, it means send it love and light. Be at peace with it. Don't let it rock your nervous system, right? So we always want to be focused on loving, caring, kind inside the body. If your body doesn't feel comfortable, let's say for an example, your body doesn't feel comfortable, your fight or flight system is activated, you can't sleep at night, all of these things are happening inside your body. When you start to focus on loving, caring, kindness, and it starts with self-love. So you focus on the inside, you come inside the body. And then I love and bless your body. Do the self Reiki, right? Take care of yourself. Eat healthy. Focus on your water. What kind of water are you drinking? Is it pH balanced water, right? Is it healthy, positive? Are you blessing your water? So each and every one of us, we could take our water, hold it up to our heart, and we could just feel the emotion of gratefulness. That emotion actually gets encoded into the water, and it starts to hit our subatomic levels, which then in turn starts to raise our biological frequency. So there's tons of different ways of doing this. Now, tomorrow's water meditation, we're also going to be doing that with water. And so what we can do is we can even visualize the oceans, right? And seeing the oceans as being cleaned up. Now, the last time we did a meditation on one of the lives for cleaning up the ocean, I started getting advertisements for different companies that were already doing it. They were already cleaning up the ocean, taking all the plastic and starting to reuse all the plastic stuff. So it's absolutely wonderful to see that type of effect. Okay, so people wanted me to speak on the divine feminine. So we have the Ascended Masters, Mary Magdalene, and Kuan Yin. So I only really know Mary Magdalene. I don't really know Kuan Yin, but the divine feminine inside your physical form, we have masculine energetics. They're on the right hand side, and feminine energetics. Those are on the left hand side. So your masculine system is very logical based. It tunes into different areas in your brain as well. And so when we have to get something done, we know, like getting to work, right? So your masculine system becomes activated. I have to get my keys, get in the car, drive from here to here to here, and then I'm at work. That's a logic-based system. That's your masculine. That's okay. Your safety and protection is also guided by your masculine system. Your feminine systems, and it doesn't matter what gender you are. So every single person on the planet, we have these two systems. They are naturally encoded into the Kundalini energetic channel systems. So when you have your feminine energetics, which is the Mary Magdalene Collective, they're very feminine oriented. And so, but that feminine energy allows you to think outside the box. It's your creativity. It's how well you express yourself and you be wonderful. Like, just imagine like dancers, they're very elegant. It's a circular type of energetic. So when we combine the two, we have the physical reality, because we have to think masculine. We have to think in the physical world. We're here right now. We have to be grounded to the planet. We have to make things happen. We have to feed ourselves. We have to get money, right? All of these different things have to go for us to be healthy and happy. If you don't have a house and you're in the streets and you're cold and wet from the rain, you're not going to be that happy compared to if you are safety and security, activating the masculine. Now, activating the feminine means that you feel safe in your environment. The second that you feel safe, because your masculine energetics logically made you feel safe. I have all my food, my bills are all paid, everything is wonderful, there's a roof over my head. So that logic side, it's allowing the feminine side to become active. So now I can sit down and I can paint a painting, or I could play the piano, or I could do dance. It doesn't really matter what we like to do. So, but the second that we understand how these two system works, now imbalances in those systems, when we have an imbalance in the feminine, a lot of times that's directly tied into the solar plexus. Your creativity comes from there. The solar plexus is directly inside the belly button. That's how we pull energy into the biological system. It's through the solar plexus. So it's pulling. Now, when we know this, the feminine energetics, when there's an imbalance, we stop becoming as creative. And so you may even have a lost love. A lost love will develop a line here that goes down the face. It goes down the cheeks. It kind of looks like you're crying. Now, that line, it's a wrinkle, yes, but it's not necessarily from getting old. These wrinkles that we get on the face are actually from emotions. So when we develop a lost love line, that could potentially be something that you loved to do. So let's say, for an example, you love to paint paintings and then you stop because life got busy. But then you stopping turned into 10 years. So it was like now you don't have the patience to sit down and paint. And so that will turn into a lost love because that was something that your soul loved to do. And it causes an energetic imbalance in the physical form when we stop to do things that we are designed as well as meant to be doing. So anything that makes your heart jump for joy is what you are designed and meant to be doing. It's okay if that topic changes. So maybe when you're a kid, you love to do art. Then maybe you just got tired of it. Maybe you switched. Now maybe you play violin. That's fine too. Now maybe you switch from violin to something else. That's okay. That's not really a lost love because you're choosing something and then you're choosing something else later. What I'm talking about is you love to do it and you were kind of forced to stop. That's a lost love. So it's two different things to start people clarifying. Now, when we start to see imbalances in the feminine, we may even notice females cutting their hair short. And so their masculine energetics will be too high. That's a safety and security. Their clothing may also change. So they may start wearing men's clothing. So that's okay too. Now, when there's an issue in the feminine energetics, then all of a sudden, it's kind of like the exact opposite. So, but it also depends on which way the energetic is flowing. Is it too much, too over? Is your head in the clouds because you're thinking too much in the feminine? Are you too focused on the spiritual and not enough in the physical reality? So when we have an overactive feminine energetic, we will tend to be very magically focused and then the bills will stack up and everything will be okay. Right? So we want to always have a look at what are we thinking and how is our life running? So when we start to break down our patterns of behavior, the patterns of behavior are very, very important because patterns of behavior are going to allow you to expand. So you take a look at whatever patterns that you're running that no longer fit the person that you want to become. So are you doing anything that's toxic to yourself? Are the bills sitting piled up? Are you sitting there? Are you not bathing properly? Are you not eating properly? Are you going to McDonald's? What's the case? What's going on in your life? So when we start to make lists, and once again, I know a lot of people don't have time for lists. We don't have time. There's always time to make a list. You get a tiny little notebook. But when you make a list, what's some things that I can improve on? And you always want to keep it positive. You never want to tell yourself I'm doing bad stuff. You want to tell yourself, how can I improve? So, what are some things that I can improve on in order to make me a better version of me that I can be? And then that's it. Follow that list. Try your hardest to do it. No one's telling you that you have to be perfect. It is okay to have a cheat day. That's perfectly fine. It's no big deal. It's okay to be sad. That's perfectly fine. So everyone gets sad once in a while, especially when we're going through this type of evolution. This is a college course planet, college course, right? So we're seeing all this chaos bubbling up. And so that's okay though. So what that tells us is how can we cultivate our own happiness among chaos? And then not only that, but for the advanced energetic healers, as star people are saying. How can we radiate that frequency out so that we start to have an impact on the chaos that we do see? Now, some things in the physical reality we cannot make changes to right this second because we need them for the path of least resistance to the evolution. So, what does that look like? Now, I believe on the last live, I was talking about black flies and how we had to put the species under a certain amount of pressure in order to allow the species to evolve to a very high level consciousness. So, a lot of times we can make instantaneous changes. We can do timeline shifts, we can do timeline jumps, but you have to remember the way that this process works is like this: there's a breath in and a breath out. Okay. So it kind of looks like a sunflower seed. Now, there's a bunch of different potentials that we can all pick from, but it has to be with the collective consciousness in this breath in and breath out in this reality only. So, in this reality that you and I are co creating right in this very moment, there's a bunch of potentials that we can pick from by changing our frequency and raising our frequency or lowering our frequency. These are just the potentiality of this current reality. Now, when we start to do things like go inside, meditate, we do have the ability to change the reality that we are currently in vibrational alignment to. So that's completely different than what I'm telling you here. Because when we start to know that our frequency, how happy and how sad we are, it starts to change the potentials that we have running in this current reality. So if we want to rise up to the 5D frequency range, we could do that now by raising our frequency, by going inside, by being happy, by eating good foods, right? Whatever it is, whatever modality that you guys feel drawn to is what you guys want to place your focus on. Now, a lot of times when we start to place our focus on activating 5D or even activating our crystalline DNA strands, then that will manifest into our physical reality. And so what that looks like is focus on the extrasensory abilities constantly. And so or always having it running in the back of your mind. You're like, "Oh, I wonder if we can do this, right? Let me just try and send a blast of love to all the cars around me as I'm driving and let's see if they just chill out." Right? And we can actually do this. So when we start to focus on these types of things, now we have to realize that every single emotion unlocks an ability. All of the emotions is how you control the physical reality. So in time, we will be able to make parallel reality shifts and jumps. Many of us are doing it right now, except we're actually shifting through the realities billions of times per second. But each reality that we shift to is very identical to the reality that we're currently in. So it looks like the same world, but this is how we're able to instantaneously manifest items now. Now we can go in and through the process of visualization, we can instantaneously teleport. We can either go to another planet, we can go to a parallel reality. That gets a little funky for people to think of because it's like, oh, okay, there's parallel realities. Yes. There's different dimensions. Yes. So a dimension, the dimensionality in the physical reality is length times width times height. So that gives a 3D. Now, when we start talking about 4 and 5D, I want you just to imagine that there's a light source, and that light source is coming down, and say 6D, and then 5D is a shadow of 6D, and then 4D is a shadow of 5D, and so on. And then 3D is a shadow of 4D. And so, but then we get down even lower and lower and lower. Now, a lot of times, these density levels, they're right here in this world. We just don't see them. This is how we have the astral world. This is how we have other beings that we can't see, but we could feel. You could feel when someone's watching you. So let's say, for an example, has anyone been, say, anywhere in your life and you just had this creepy, crawly feeling and you knew someone was watching you and you knew someone was in your house looking at you? Yes, I've had that multiple times. So when we know this, it's like, okay, well, we can't see you. So where are you? They're just in another frequency and we're unable to see. The technology will rise to such a degree in which we will be able to see them in time. That's a solid fact. Now, if we're not, once again, it goes to that spiritual, physical perception. Some of us can see them now without utilizing the technology. So those people are gifted because they actually can see the attachments and they can see which ones are latched onto you. But there's multiple attachments, not only the ones that you can see, there's also internal ones. So, okay, so question number 3. Let me take a sip. It's wonderful. Okay. So everyone wants to know, how do I channel? Now, there's a bunch of different ways that I channel, but my Starman, we have this type of bonding that we have gone through, so it allows for a type of constant 24/7 telepathic communication. So what that means is, while I'm talking, he is sending information directly through my crown chakra, and it's coming out very, very rapidly. But then there are moments when he actually can project inwards and he can directly change the words that I'm going to say. So, and it's very in the now moment. So it happens very rapidly. Now, the way that you guys have to start doing this is the way that I had to start, because I started channeling him in 2019. So in 2019, I started with a pen and a piece of paper, and I started asking questions and writing it down. I started talking to the voice inside my mind. Now, the voice inside my mind would give me answers back like they were bright ideas. And so when we allow those bright ideas to come through, we just write them down. We ask another question, allow the bright idea. It can even be your voice in your mind, and then you may just have your answer. So you just know it, a knowing. You could hear. So some people have the ability to hear. I can also hear him sometimes. He talks to me that way. And so most of the times the hearing is too slow. So it's very, he sends it in and out. It's much rapid. It's more rapid fire. So, okay. Let me see. Okay, reflections of the self and belief patterns, belief versus knowing. So, we all have had belief patterning, and that belief patterning has been we've all been wrong on times, right? And so that means that something that we believed was incorrect. But knowing is totally different, because when you know something, you know it, it's solid. So what does that mean? When you know something, it becomes solid. That's what they say. So when you know something is real, it is actually real for you. Now, under certain types of hypnosis, we're actually able to go into the subconscious mind, which is directly connected into the higher self, and we're able to make advanced reprogramming to the subconscious, which changes the knowing and then allows whatever it is that you're programming in to become manifest in the physical reality for that individual. So many times other people may not see it. What does that look like? So that basically looks like, let's say you know for a fact that this crystal showed up one day. You knew it wasn't yours, and yet here it is. So maybe you don't have a conscious memory of how it is. You just know that you instantaneously manifested it. So someone else may be with you, and that person, they won't be able to see into that reality. They will be stuck in the reality that they know is real. And so they may not believe that that crystal instantaneously manifested for you. They'll believe something else. Oh, it just showed up, right? You must have lost, or you forgot you bought it. So that's not knowing, right? That's running a belief pattern. When you know these things are real, they become very real for your life. And I'm telling you this with solid certainty. UFOs are real. I've seen them. Extraterrestrials are real. I'm with him. Like, what are you going to do? Okay. So let's talk about the memory complex and how to activate emotions using it. So the memory complex is very, very, it's so funny. He's laughing. Okay. Ways to change our internal beliefs. So science is great. And so the science actually starts to show us that through going into sacred geometry and quantum physics, it starts to show us that the physical world isn't solid. And the second that we know and believe the physical world isn't solid, mind over matter comes into play. And then it's like, what's next? So when we start to ask ourselves what's next, okay, so we can change the speed of atoms and molecules. We can manipulate DNA that's sealed in a glass vial by sending love and light and just telling it what to do. The DNA will listen to us. Well, that's something really tiny. So it's very easy to change or modify. Now, if we took a random number generator and each and every one of us sat there together and we started to change the numbers to whatever numbers that we wanted, yes, we most certainly can do that. So that's scientifically been proven. Now, they use brainwave readers on people, and then they showed them visuals on the TV of different photos. Some photos were positive, some were negative. So the brain waves would trigger the negative picture before the negative picture showed up on the TV. So that means that our brain is responding before time and space. Now, the way the telepathy actually works with the star people, it's kind of like this. Your thoughts are a stream that comes into the conscious mind, and your magnetism is going to either allow that stream in or that stream is going to be different. So when I was first developing my telepathy with my starman, it was very weird because I would feel him change the words before they reach my mind. You can sense these words, you can kind of hear the words before they're going to come, like you know what you're about to think. It's kind of like completing a sentence. You know what's coming next. So by doing that, it allowed me to start, okay, well, the words are really negative that are coming in, so let me go in and let me refresh and let me bring more love into myself, and then allow those words, that slipstream, to change. So no one ever tells us that the words are magnetically attracted to us. That's very, very important. So when we talk about releasing emotions from the body and we speak about, you have to control your thoughts, this is how it's done. It's controlled by your emotions. So whenever you're having negative thoughts, that whole slipstream of negative thoughts can be overcome by dropping into the heart, raising your biological frequency, bringing in more love and light, or even accessing the higher self, because that's a magnetism that we pull down, and that sits in the heart of the heart chakra. So when we start to focus on love and light, we start to positively reassure, I am safe, I am healthy, I am happy. It's changing our magnetism, which changes those thoughts that are coming in. So the ways to change the internal belief systems, though, can also have a lot to do with self programming. So when you tell yourself something and you tell yourself at least 8 times. So let's say you're trying to memorize for like a college paper or something, and you have to write it down 8 times, and then all of a sudden it hits the memory grid complex and it becomes solid in your memory. So you remember it. Now, when we are trying to go inside and change the internal beliefs, it kind of works the same exact way. So 8 times. So I am intellectual. Say it 8 times. Say my bank account always has money in it. Say it 8 times. Say it so much that you believe it, and then watch, because the second you believe it, it's going to help you to know it, because you're going to start to see it manifest. So this comes back to mirror reflections of the frequency that we are encoding. So your magnetism is your emotions. So if you are holding an emotion code of I have access to unlimited resources, it's going to change your emotions, which then in turn it changes what you're pulling in to the thought grid. So the more and more knowledge is also tied into the thought grid. Just because you're digesting the thoughts in your mind doesn't mean that the thoughts that you read on the computer aren't the same exact thing, because you're still manifesting it. It's just a different sense. This is a sense coming right into the thought grid from the ether, but you can use the physical reality to pull thoughts in as well. This is the reason why we stop watching TV. We don't want to watch the negativity, because that negativity is changing our magnetism and it's making us a lower frequency, which then is messing all of our manifestations up. So, yeah, I'm at 7. It's 7:35, hon. Nancy. Yeah. Can you listen to music to raise your frequency when you are feeling negative? Absolutely. So I personally listen to very inspirational music, whatever I can find, even certain piano musics. And so there's no lyrics. I don't have to worry about people, huffing and puffing or whatever, but they play the piano, and then how does it make you feel? Now, anyone who has cancer should be listening to violin. Anyone with like PTSD should be listening to running water. So certain music, certain sounds have different frequencies that heal the body of different things. So we take a look at, what does that look like? Well, sound and color is basically the same thing. It's a frequency. They're just two different senses. So one's utilizing the ears, one is the eyes, but they're still a frequency. So every sound has a correlation to a color spectrum. Now, when we realize this, we know different sounds are going to affect different chakras. So when we have different chakras and different sounds are going to affect those chakras, like the upper chakras, they may be something like church bells. Church bells are amazing too for driving off negative energies. And so it's so funny because my house, I have a church right across the railroad tracks. Everyone always hears the train come every like hour. Well, on the other side of the tracks is a church bell, and it's huge. I've been using color and sound to help heal my body. Very good. My book should be coming. Well, I'm starting the book. It's going to be very intricate, but I actually wanted to take all of my downloads, all of my posts, and put them all into one book first. And then like the real book is it's going to be like my ascension guide. So how we go about changing from a 3D perspective into a 5D. So, excellent. Okay, so we have how to reprogram the memory complex. That was the next question. So that's the same exact thing that I was just telling you guys. You have to go inside and keep telling yourself over and over again. Now, one easy way is to use hypnosis. So hypnosis doesn't necessarily have to be a person sitting in a chair with another person telling them stuff. Make an audio and use sacred geometry music. And so you can use the solfeggio frequencies, which tune into each chakra. And so, but while you're using the solfeggio frequencies, check out and see which one matches the root chakra. We can all do this on like an Apple video, right? So, you guys, we can all do this. It's important to make one with your own voice because your subconscious mind believes everything that your voice says, which is the reason why what we speak, it becomes real because the subconscious mind hears your voice and believes it. So it's very simple for us to change the belief patterns because the more we speak it, subconscious mind is going to hear our voice, and it goes with the tone too, the star people are saying. So your tone of the way that you speak, your subconscious mind knows if it's truthful or if it's lying. So remember, the ego mind is allowing the speech to take place. The subconscious mind is witnessing the entire TV screen, right? So when you're speaking the truth from your heart, your subconscious mind goes, okay, check, that's the truth. And then all of a sudden, the belief systems will change very easily. So yes, you may find YouTube videos that have great hypnosis videos. However, your voice is more powerful than anyone else's. This is the reason why everyone here, we want to step into our own power. And I know it can be tricky to like make your own, but it's just very good to like get a nice, sacred geometric or solfeggio frequencies and then speak to each chakra. So for example, in the root chakra, we want to focus on abundance. So I live in a nice house. I drive the best car. I eat the best food ever. I drink the best water ever, the healthiest water ever, right? Whatever it is in the physical world that needs to be changed or you feel like can use a little update, speak it on the audio and listen to it every single night. Now, we know that people have listened to different type of languages while they sleep, and then all of a sudden, poof, they wake up one morning and they know the language. So how long did they actually have to listen for, right? Now, when we start to do this, we start to do every single chakra. So I am creative, I am expressive, I can communicate properly. I am very intellectual in the way that I speak. My third eye is open. I can astral project, I can quantum jump, I can go into the past, I can go into the future. All of these different things are very, very real. I have accessed the wind bending ability. And that's when you can go outside and you can change the way the wind is flowing. You could change things. So we have people who can spiral the little windmills. They can take it with no wind outside and they can project their energy and they can make the thing move. And so we can also call upon the wind. Now, when we start to do elementals, we have to make sure that the Kundalini channels are fully unlocked and open. Not unlocked. He's saying unblocked. So the Kundalini channels naturally are open from birth, but then they can emotionally become blocked up. And so on your left is earth, towards the front is air, fire is to the right, and water is in the back. These are our four elementals. The reason why we are given the elementals is because it correlates to the Kundalini channels that are inside the body. So when we utilize the air, it's working with that air channel. When we utilize earth, it's working on the left-hand side channel. So when we go outside and we start to call upon the different elementals, we're working with a channel. That's what it is. What is a channel? It's a channel of expression in a holographic simulation. Now, the star people are saying when we start to work with the different elementals, it's going to trigger a frequency inside of us, which reflects to the outside instantaneously because we're consciously focusing on where to place our energetics. And so, if we're focused on casting the energy at an element, then we can call it up, we can summon it. Now, many times people will tell you that they can feel when the rain is coming. They might even feel extra pain, and so they feel more pain before the weather, the wind, or not the wind, the rain actually comes in. So, but that's okay. Now that's telling you that you are feeling something that's coming before it's actually here. Now the reason why we feel pain is because the rain is just like our tears, right? And so the rain is, it comes to wash away the emotions. It comes to allow the water to rise into the roots, because then the sun comes and then everything is rebirthed, right? You need to cry in order to grow. You need the rain in order to grow. It's the same thing. So when we feel the pain, it's because that rain is trying to wash away the emotions that are triggering densities inside the physical body. Very important. This is the reason why we see some children, they like to dance in the rain. And so what they're doing is they're tuning into the source frequency, they're getting in the zone of focus, and they're allowing that rain to wash over them and to cleanse and purify them of any of the densities. We're supposed to be doing this constantly. As an adult, I don't remember the last time I danced in the rain. I honestly don't. It had to be with my kids when they were little. Right? So, but that's just the way it is. And when we start to do this again, now what is that? It's very creative. It's very playful, right? It's very, you're activating the childlike mind and you're allowing the now moment to be happy, even though it's pulsing your energetics and all this density is washing off of you. This is how we raise in frequency. There's so much information about the internal and the chakras and the grids, all of that stuff, but it's just a very basic concept because not everybody has to be a scientist. We just have to understand how to be happy and how to be happy with what is in the now moment, even when it's crummy. So many times we may notice distortions. Distortions can be diseases, they could be traumas, tragedies, negative emotions trapped in the body. And so we want to go through and we want to start to clear them. Now, it doesn't mean if you're trying to pull yourself out of this giant depression, it doesn't mean it's going to happen overnight. It's okay to take the baby steps. It's perfectly fine. I took baby steps. It took me a little bit of time to get to where I'm at now. It's been 4 years since I went through a whole transformation. My entire life switched from a negative polarity to a positive in 2019, and I see it with multiple people who communicate with me. The same thing happened to a lot of them. So it was something in the energetic grid in which a whole lot of the star seeds shifted at once. So, which is a blessing because then we know, oh, okay, well, we are all connected because something happened to all of us in 2019, and it was right around March. So it's just totally wild to see. Now, what the star people say about that is a reflection of a frequency coming from inside of you, reflecting into the outside world. The way the simulation works is like this. Just imagine for 1 second that there's a ton of different souls on this planet. There's a ton of different artificial intelligences too. They are also considered consciousness or conscious because they are. And so we'll get into the AI later, but there's a bunch of different souls on this planet. Each and every one of us is in our own consciousness bubble. That consciousness bubble allows us to fine tune our frequency, and we manifest our experiences with all of the other people around us. So anyone who crosses my path, we had some sort of spiritual contract in order for them to cross my path on a spiritual level. These contracts take place with the higher self. We know nothing of them. We just know that they're there. These are kind of like the strings behind the curtain. Now, some people have the string worker ability, so they can actually see or perceive all the strings. That's a time space ability the star people are saying. So when they are able to pull back the curtain and see all the strings, they're able to take a string and pull a string from you and tie them both together and then put you on the frequency so that definitely manifests for you. There's multiple gifts. We also have the dream walker ability. The dream walker ability is when you dive into the dream state and you're able to walk in someone else's dream, or you're able to go in your own dream. You're able to program your dream so that it's a manifestation that happens when you wake up. So all of these different things, they're very, very real. I've experienced multiple things. And then I see people who have these abilities because they come to me and I'm like, oh, you have that. The star people told me about that. Right. So the star people, my star man, he's been in my dreams before watching over me, protecting me during my dreams. So he can do it too. So to a certain degree, we do reach a certain level in which everybody ends up with most of the abilities, right? We fine tune a lot of them, but the astral abilities, a lot of people, we tend to get very curious. Some people don't. That's okay too. So the way unity consciousness works, the star people are saying, when the whole human collective consciousness grid becomes activated, what it means is that enough of us knew the information. So when we share information and enough of us know the same exact information, it starts the process of 100 monkey effect. And so that effect shows us how when enough of us know something or we experience it or we do it, it shifts the energetic for the entire planet. And so this is just the way that we shift into a parallel reality, which looks very similar to the reality that we were just in. Remember, we shift billions of times every single second. So when we do this, it means it starts to wake up the entire collective. It's not the collective that shifts, it's us. And we shifted into a more comfortable reality in which the information that we were naturally drawn to started to expand throughout the entire human collective consciousness grid. So this is how each and every one of us can be plugged in independently to our reality, as well as having a co-creative reality. And so some people, they have no idea about the spiritual knowledge, and that's okay too, because that just means they're not meant to know. It's okay. Now, when we know, it allows us to do things with that knowledge, like share it, or we can even start casting. And so, energetic casting, when you are sending or even summoning, the star people are saying, we ground in the knowledge, which then in turn, multiple people ground in the same or similar knowledge. And then all of a sudden, it affects the entire planetary frequency. So, this is, it's amazing. Yeah. Excellent. Let me take a sip. Okay. Let's see. Okay. How do we access the second degree of the memory complex grid? So, the second degree of the memory complex grid grants the primary individual access into all past and future lifetimes. So, when we know this, this is how we unlock all of the memories from every life that we've ever lived. That's going to happen as well. And so when that process happens, it allows you to pull from extrasensory abilities that you had in the past or the future, and it allows you to will it into the now moment now. So all of these different lifetimes, they're all happening right now in this very moment. And so you could just imagine we see it from a physical perspective. When we do a past life regression, we see it as, oh, that was my past life. This is what I did during the past life. And then all of a sudden, that's not really the case because that past life is happening right now. All time and space is happening right now. So when we start to notice this, okay, when we start to notice that all time and all space is happening right now, that means that we have the ability to go inside and pick and choose what information that we need for downloads from the past or future lifetimes. Now, we are also able to instantaneously download from the human consciousness grid. And so, what that looks like is that looks like being right here in the now moment and requiring or asking or just allowing information to come when you needed it the most. When we start to do that, then it basically unlocks more and more and more. So we have to remember that the mind, the physical form, it acts like a muscle. So the more we use it, the more it's going to become more activated. So we have to place a little bit of focus and attention on allowing instantaneous downloads to come. Now, what happens when we fully activate and unlock that ability is that we'll start the process of, remember Neo? Right? The second that he figured out, oh, I can download all this information, he sat there in a chair and he didn't move until he got it all. That's how a lot of us are. And so we're just craving the knowledge, and you will sit there and take it and take it and take it because you want to know all these different things. So when we start to unlock the memory grid complex, the first degree is already active because that's us, right? So we just want to activate it a tiny bit more so we remember our timeline. That's the first degree. Just our life, all memories, all future. That's the first degree activation of it. The second degree is all parallel lives. So let's say a past life, a future life, all that stuff, all of the knowledge of all those is the second degree. The third degree is like the Akashic records, but it's the Akashic records that you have access into all planets, all memory from all time and space. So what the star people are saying is the way that that one works is you choose what information that you need with the third degree. So, and then the oversoul or the source frequency is the final stage for the memory grid complex. And when you tune into the source frequency, it's all information throughout all time and space, all planets, all everything. Everything is up in the source frequency. But the third degree allows you to, so let's say you're going to a planet, you could tune into the planet's memory grid complex, and then you could download the entire planetary history as well as future so that you know, okay, well, I'm going on this week, so they're going to have this weather is going to be nice. Da, 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 da. However, a lot of times the star people are saying now, when you reach a certain degree, yeah, you could do all these things, but I guess it gets like old. And they're like, we just kind of like the randomness too sometimes, right? So we'll make the trip and we'll just go. Right. So, and then we see the randomness and we're like, we want to know. So it's complete opposite. Now, the law of polarity will always kick in. And so think about what that is. Here on Earth, we want to know. And so when we want to know, it basically means that you're seeing that side of the story. But when you're in 5D and you have access to the knowing, you really don't care if you know, right? So it kind of releases it. Now we have to experience a polarity of both. When we see the polarity of both, it allows us to cross cancel the polarity of that experience, and then it opens up an energy node in our grid. So when we want to go into 5D, there's 144 energetic nodes in the grid that need to be open and unlocked. Those get unlocked by the law of polarity, as well as different experiences that we walk through and seeing it through multiple perspectives. So there's always three sides to every story. We're told that. So when we know a neutral and his side and her side, or I walk the experience and now I see the experience happening from somebody else and I'm holding a neutral emotion to both. That's how we unlock the energy node. And so every single experience that we walk through, no matter how traumatic, and I'm sorry, they are very traumatic, they can be. However, we are always, every single time we are going to see our experience, someone else is going to go through it. It's going to be brought to our attention. It doesn't matter if it happens 10 years later. You will always see it. It's the law of polarity. And so, but the second that you're able to see that experience that you walk through and you're able to hold it in a neutral, bam, that's how we level up. So this is what all the shadow work is all about. When we start to go inside and we start to really dive into healing the emotions of all of the experiences. Now, a lot of times our experiences are locked. And so what that means is our memories, especially people dealing with the empath and the narcissism actually shuts down a piece of the neocortex so that you can't remember too well. So it's think about it. When you go through so much extensive trauma, the memory starts to shut down because it's like you don't need to remember all the trauma. It's too negative for the soul form. So a lot of people have been having that experience as well. Now, when we start to go through this process of opening up the energetic nodes, it changes our frequency. So it's kind of like 1 and 1 and 1. Thank you very much for the light energy. So when we start to go through the process of opening up the energetic nodes, that really happens when we start to go through the shadow work and we start to heal all the experiences. A lot of times we'll see the polarity will kick in, but we just won't consciously realize what to do with it. So it passes. But then when we go in the shadow work and we're sending love and light to that experience, we're healing it. It's changing our emotions, which activates our energetic grid structure. And so it's absolutely amazing because the more shadow work you do and the more attachments you release. So the attachments, They really gunk up the energetic systems 100%, because the second that you discharge a ton of attachments, you feel a very clean, energetic feeling. So I do actually offer attachment release sessions now too. They're very extensive. I normally get the person on the phone for an hour, sometimes a lot longer. So it really depends, because I allow the star people to guide the closing of the sessions. Now, you do have to take a saltwater bath after an attachment session. It's very important, because whenever we're going inside and we're clearing any attachments, the second that you start to clear more than like two or three of them, you jump right into the bath, salt water, right? Because the salt is kind of like your tears. Your hair holds emotions, it holds that emotional frequency. So, that emotion from all those attachments, it has a real impact on the body, and we use salt water to take it away. So, what was I going to say? Wait a second. It's like something completely made my mind go completely blank right now. Okay. So attachments. Let me take a sip. Excellent. What else do we do? There's so much information on attachments. It's so crazy. It's a very clean, energetic feeling once they're all completely discharged. And so, what that means is a clean, energetic feeling. When you wake up, it's like you feel bright. Now, just imagine for 1 second that you're doing your highest passion and you feel great. You feel amazing. Everything is positive. It's all flowing, right? You're in the synchronicities, keep coming to you. So, you keep seeing the numbers on the clock or the license plates, repetitive numbering. And so when you start the process of cleaning off the attachments, it changes everything, because all of a sudden you feel brighter. So it's a very clean, energetic feeling. So I got negative attacks last night when I got into the astral plane. I'm a Minican light warrior through the astral attacks were over. Yeah. Do you ever get discharged? Me? Well, there's different types of energetic discharging, actually. And so we know static electricity, that's one type of discharge. And so your Kundalini energetics, that's another type of discharge. There's a heart, uh, I don't want to say the word, it's the big O. And so, but that is another one. It radiates an energetic out, and it washes over your entire body, and you just feel like bliss, and it lasts a really long time. So, all of these different types of things, it's just energy. It's discharging your energetics. So, there's 6 different Kundalini channels. And so, 5 of them, oh, you're talking about attachments? Oh, no. So even the star people, they came down to my physical room in July, and we did a whole like 360 on me, because I was not in a good place then in July of last year. And so when they came down, we did 4 days solid of attachment release. And they're using high technology, so it was rough. It was so difficult. It was like taking the energy out of you, right? When to really go through that many in that short amount of time, it like knocked me out. But then on day 4, I felt like $1 million, and that's like totally worth it, right? So, but they told me you have to unpack the emotions, and I was like, what does that mean? Yeah, you have to unpack the emotions. You have to go through the memory. You have to heal the emotions, send it love and light, heal the inner child. Um, we missed a couple. And so this past shift, I want to say this past week, those couple that we missed, they came up hardcore, and they were like making themselves known. So we went back in again. We started uncovering all the attachments. So even if, let's say, we discharge 100% of the attachments, if you're walking through the civilization, they latch onto you. And so just going to certain locations, being around, like a crowd of people, if you go, God forbid, you go to a bar club, forget it. You're gonna come home. You're gonna have to do a full clearing on you. So there's certain places I won't go to. A bar, that's number one. So, and I have a bar 3 houses down from my house. It's so funny. Like all the houses are tight together here, but it's cute. It's like a quiet little country town. And so yeah, it's totally wild. But we stay away. So, okay, let me see. I think we had 2 more questions. Anyone who has questions, just throw them in. Okay. The source frequency lens adjustments, which allows the individual to shift the focus of the second degree memory complex grid. So, You have a source frequency lens. There's one above your head. It's 3 different rings. And so that gives access to your biological form. The second ring is your location coding. So, what is the land around you? What does your environment look like? The third ring is the universal or the solar system ring. So, when we see all 3 of these rings, we realize that there's a frequency coming down our physical body. And then each chakra has an actual ring, so it's like a circle. They call it a source frequency lens. He's correcting me. And so that when we do energetic clearings, because I do those too, I go into the lens and I wipe off the lens, and then we properly balance the chakra. Each chakra, it comes out like an energetic vortex. So it kind of looks like a traffic cone coming out. Comes out the front, it comes out the back. The heart has 2. The top one controls your internal circumstances. So a lot of your emotions are in the upper chakra, the negative ones. A lot of the positive ones are in the lower ones. So we go through and we clear them. That positive lower is generating a toroidal field. Okay? That toroidal field, it flows like this. Right? So we have the negative and the positive, and then they're flowing through one another like that. So that's directly what the star people call that is the void and the source frequency. And so when you have a negative, that negative is pulling all the light into the negative. It's like a black hole. This is how the 0 point in your heart works. So that is pulling all the light into the black hole, but then it transmutates and all of a sudden it becomes light again and then it goes back through. That's how your toroidal field works. We don't see the negative, of course, but what we see the aura field, it looks like a bright white light, but there's that little void space inside the heart. So when you have a negative emotion, it kicks the emotion out the back of the heart chakra. Now, the same like the higher self will take its seat in the heart chakra and it will open. So the higher self will also pulse. So you'll feel it go, it comes out when you're excessively happy. Now, when you're excessively sad, let's say you see a trauma and it scares the living bejesus out of you, then something it whacks out of the back of the heart chakra. You can completely feel this. I have done it. Now, what the star people say is when this process happens, when you feel that pulse out the back of the chakra, that means that we just enacted a safe spot. Now, a safe spot is an energetic spot in the energetic grid structure, which starts a cycle repeat. So, whatever the trauma is, that trauma has to repeat to allow for a secondary witnessing of that traumatic experience. So, we can take a look at people who are extremely low frequency. It's okay if they are, that's okay too. But then they keep going through the same exact horrible situation or the same mistake or problem happens over and over and over again until they wisen up, we call it, or until they raise their frequency and they release the emotions. Many times when we experience the same trauma over and over and over again, you'll get to a point and you're just like, whatever, it's going to happen. It happened 100 times. And but what that actually does is it releases the resistance and it allows that to stop cycling in your actual world. So you're changing your emotion code to a neutral because it's like whatever. It's out of my control. It's going to keep happening. There's nothing I can do about it. It's discharging your energetics, bringing you into a neutral, which allows that cycle to stop. Pulsing fear out the back of the heart chakra, you can feel solidly, and then that starts a cycle repeat. So, what are you afraid of? Right? So, when we stay in the now moment, right now in this very moment, is there anything for any of us to fear? No. Everyone here is very calm, very collected, right? We're in the now moment. We're not really scared. Also, this is very important too, because when you generate a fear emotion, some of us have the chi energetic abilities. And so the chi is a form of electricity. So when you generate a fear, you can make lightning, for an example, or you can pulse. Or, but not only that, it can either, star people are saying it could be used for a positive or a negative. So you can generate it with a very high frequency of love. You could generate pushing this type of energy into other people. This is what Reiki energy is. But you could generate actual lightning too. You could burn out a light bulb. You could hold the light bulb. You could turn on the light bulb because you're learning how to project your energetic system into such light bulb. This comes with the emotions because the emotions activate any and all of our extrasensory abilities. So, yeah. Okay. So the source frequency lens, which allows the individuals to shift focus. So that is very, very important because we have a focus where we can see what's here. We can see what's right here, right in front of us. But then we have a focus where we could see the entire picture, right? So the entire thing. Now, when we start to go inside, we can change what we can see. So your conscious mind is watching a certain focus of the entire world that you see. The subconscious mind is picking up all the information on the outside. So when we put people under hypnosis and we sent those people walking down a city street, they were able to read back license plate numbers, what people were wearing, what stores they passed in chronological order. All of this information was accessed from the subconscious mind. So what this tells us is that our focus of perception is something that we can start to change and modify. This is also an extrasensory ability. So if you've ever seen someone who's blind, now that's okay too that they're blind. They tend to develop extrasensory abilities because they cannot utilize their eyes, which automatically tells us that the human body has extra senses that we can activate. Let's say you take one away, other ones are going to activate. This is how it works. This is why taking away the money, new stuff comes in. You take away the eyes, new senses come in. So, how can we start to put pressure on ourselves so that we can start to activate the different senses that we need or want or wish to activate? Right? What is it that you guys want to do? Do you want to move items? Do you want to have telepathy? Do you want to do telekinesis, teleportation? Develop your time space abilities, which is really simple because time and space is controlled by your emotions, like all the other gifts. When we're really, really happy, time seems to fly. When we're really, really sad, time seems to go slow. That's a very easy gift to start to level to the first degree. So when you're driving in the car, try and laugh. Try and laugh so much, a 20-minute car ride, you just made it in 10 minutes. Yes, that's possible. I've done it. We have done an hour drive, and there was two cars. So we were following my mother-in-law's car. It was like 45 minutes to an hour drive home. So I was in the second car and we stopped at Dunkin' Donuts. We got iced coffee. We drank the whole iced coffee. Back then I smoked. We were smoking cigarettes. Ate some food, right? And then we spent a good half hour at Dunkin' Donuts. We both were driving 65 miles per hour. That's the speed that woman drives. We get in the car from Dunkin' Donuts. We made it to her house at the same exact time. We were really happy. We were having fun. We were singing and dancing like morons, right? And so we were not morons, more positive is needed. We were singing and dancing like happy people, right? And so, but it was fun. We were having a lot of fun listening to music. The windows were down. It was nice and summery, and right. So, but the point is that we made it back to the house at the same time. She went directly there, right? We had stopped for a half hour and then made it there at the same exact time. A half hour, right? So, but I've had also we used to play race the GPS when I was in high school, right? And so the GPS always changes. It's not real. It's fluid. All information is fluid. Now think about the sciences on the planet as well. So we know that all information is fluid because take a look at Newton's apple, right? In his day and age, they believed that apple fell because of gravity. We are now learning that levity, which is like levitation, causes the speed of the apple to drop at a certain speed. So it's not gravity, it's the levitation. It's the frequency of the earth, which determines the speed of the apple seeming to drop, right? Mind blown. This is how anti gravity works. So when we start to know this type of information, then it's like, oh, okay. So what he knew back in the day, we've just proved to be not true. So that's what the star people say happens constantly. Your information that you're downloading in the now moment, it is pertaining to the level consciousness that you are at. So some people, and it's so funny too, because people don't realize this, but even if they put my videos on and they just listen and they don't understand a single word, it doesn't matter because it levels up their consciousness because the subconscious mind is like, oh, well, they're ready for that information. So we'll start to reorganize it. And then they go through this grand ascension process. And then in time, they come back maybe 6 months later and like, now I understand it. And I'm like, yeah, that's because you downloaded it. because you listen to it. Your subconscious mind was like, oh, well, this is the information that they need. Just keep listening, even if you don't get it. It's okay, because it will eventually click and open. And then all of a sudden, it's like a download. Because what you did was you jump started your evolution by listening to information like this. Because now all of a sudden, it's a possibility, right? We know that it's true. We know that we can manifest. We know that this world is a holographic simulation. We know these things. This is scientifically sound, and it's been proven. So the second that we know and we believe it in our heart, we know it's real. We know that we could do things. I've seen things. The UFOs are real. That star people want to help us to evolve. Then all of a sudden, all you have to do is keep focusing on that. So when you focus on that, if you're listening to it, someone else is talking about it, that's wonderful, because you're putting focus, right? You're making the desire to allow this type of knowledge into your life. And then it has nowhere else to go but to expand out, because that is the process of manifestation. So if we take words and we write like happy go lucky words and we stick it on the wall and we see it every day, that word is going to manifest in our physical reality. So when we start to say, I am happy, I am positive, everything, the universe always conspires in my favor. I say that one constantly. And so everything always goes my way. That's just the way I see it. And if something doesn't go my way, I'm like, that's okay too. It's not a big deal. And I keep saying it. Everything always goes in my favor. The universe keeps conspiring in my favor. Well, I take a look at the ones that don't work and I'm like, that was a test and I passed, because it doesn't matter. I'm neutral. It's fine either way. If it didn't work out, it didn't work out, right? It wasn't meant for me in that moment. Doesn't mean it's not meant for me later. Just means in that moment, it wasn't meant for me. It wasn't magnetically in alignment. That's fine. So when we start to actually shift our perception and we start to go into that, it allows us to change the way that we manifest, because those little tests, it's like a trial, right? And so, oh, I passed that, I'm neutral. So then I don't need any more of that. That's going to stop happening because the cycle repeat stops. So the more and more we can do that, the better off we're going to be. And it doesn't matter if someone at work is being mean to you or they're rude and nasty. Send them love and light. You don't have to do it to their face. You do not have to apologize to anybody's face. You just have to do it inside of you. Their higher self knows your higher self. You guys are all friends anyway. That's why you're having contact and communication with the person in the physical reality. So when you defuse your energetic, it shifts to parallel realities that you are going to become vibrationally in alignment with, and it allows for peace to be manifest instead. And so many times we take a look at people who are casting negatively. So let's say they're mean people. That just means that they've been hurt and they have something inside of them that is hurting them, and they feel the need to express themselves negatively because they were hurt. I see it all the time. So not I see people with the emotions and the trauma, and the way that manifests is very similar. It's the same thing. I don't really see mean people. Everyone is nice to me. So, oh, excellent. Okay, that was the last question. Do you guys have any questions on the chat overlay? Anything? Anybody? Okay, excellent. So I do offer sessions, so you guys can go to daniellelipton.com. If you guys want to ever hop on a session with me, that would be wonderful. The Ascension package is actually the best one to get. It is by far the best value. I did include an attachment release session in the Ascension package. So it's 6 sessions total, and you're getting it more than less than half price for all. So yeah, and that's wonderful. And then it really does allow you guys to go deep and release the attachments, release all these emotions. Next live this week, I'm going to be following the regular schedule. So Tuesday, Thursday, 7 p.m. Friday, Saturday. Well, maybe Friday at what time do I normally do it? I think it's 3 p.m. 4. No, it's 4 p.m. So Thursday at 7 is your question. Oh, but actually Wednesday, this is tomorrow, I think we're doing a water thing. So we're doing like a water meditation at 7 p.m. tomorrow. So tomorrow's the next official live. Other than that, on Facebook, you'll see I'll put all the live links up so you guys can actually have a visual. I do have Just wave a crystal. So on the Facebook link, I actually have the WhatsApp. And so the WhatsApp lets me one way message everybody. So if you guys want to stay up to date on when the lives are, I usually shoot a message before I go on, and it's through the WhatsApp. Or the Star People group on Facebook is my personal group. And so now we just opened up a group chat. So everyone can actually talk to each other in the group chat on that one. And so I also broadcast out into that one when we're going live. This way you guys can see. For some reason, Facebook doesn't really send the notifications that I'm going live. So now I have a way I could text you guys. So it's wonderful. Also, if you guys want to subscribe, if you go to daniellelipton.com and put your email in all the way down bottom under the subscribe, it's just the email list. And so I do send out offers and my posts. I normally post out my downloads. I normally post to the email subscription list first. So any new downloads, you guys will be getting them first, and then they go on Facebook. This way, if you guys want them. Any downloads or stuff that I've written and posted on Facebook, feel free, take a screenshot, take a copy and paste, put it in your notepad, save it, use it, share it. It's for the collective, right? And so I'm a big fan of sharing the knowledge. The knowledge is for everyone, not just me. So that's why we do these videos. This way you guys have access to the knowledge and take what you resonate with. It is perfectly okay if some of my information, if you don't resonate with, grab it and throw it in the trash bin. If it's not for you, it's fine. No big deal. I won't be hurt, right? And so, but together we rise. So I do encourage everyone, because sometimes I have a hard time reading the comments, as like most of the times, but send in your messages, because then I take them and I write them on a list and I go through them this way. So it's just a little easier for me. Answer questions. It goes way too fast sometimes. So yeah. Welcome. Thank you guys so incredibly much for coming tonight. And thank you for watching, and many, many love and blessings. And we also want to say a big thank you to the Star People and the angels and the guides, the Magdalene Collective, my Arcturian husband and Arcturians. And thank you guys so incredibly much for coming. And many, many love and blessings. Good night.